And then I would say another mishap was that we saw fire start when we were in
Oh, wow.
like almost to the Oregon border. We were right before the Oregon border, and there was a little lightning storm, like, you could see across the way, and literally just saw like a lightning bolt start a fire. I
Wow.
called it in, or my friend called it in. Yeah, it was crazy.
Holy shit. That must have been scary.
Yeah, yeah. We were like, oh, we should probably hike faster.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
That must have
we
been.
saw like the kind of the helicopter come, and with the water and the fire retardant and try and put it out. So
Oh,
it's a
shit.
very different experience.
Wherever you go in the Catskills, you can look down and imagine glaciers below you.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
Whereas Pancy Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
It is really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Yeah!
Welcome to Inside the Line, the Catskills. Vicki, we're going to start this. So how you doing?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm doing good. Vicki has been a friend of mine for a little while, ever since somewhat high school. We're not best friends, but we've known each other for a long time. Her brother, Connor, was the best friend of mine. I love him. But Vicki tonight is on the show. Vicki is an Oneana native, an Otago native, actually. If you're from up here, Otago, whatever you want to call it. She's been there for your whole life, basically, right? Until now.
Yeah, I mean, I moved away maybe 10 years ago, but grew up from when I was a kid. So yeah, spent most of my life, my young life there. Yeah.
Damn straight. So she is here, and we're going to talk about her hike along the Pacific Crest Trail. So she's going to go over some stats, but I think it's over 2,000 miles, correct?
Yes, it is 2,650 miles.
Good Lord. Awesome. High elevation stuff. So I'm very excited because I stalked her on Facebook so much, or on Instagram so much. Every day I would come like downstairs, and luckily my wife and I worked at the same time. She's like, "Oh, Vicki posted a new video." I'm like, "Cool." Or pictures. Awesome. I'll be getting one of those pictures for the cover photo, by the way. So
Be happy to share.
so it's good to have Vicki tonight. I usually shoot the shit with her, so hopefully she's been doing well. She's been all over the freaking world. It's insane. I'm very jealous, but she is awesome. So we're gonna have her tonight here and talking about the PCT 2,600-mile journey across the from Mexico to Canada, correct?
That's correct.
Oh man, so cool. So cool. All right. So I'd like to thank my monthly supporters, Katrina Weinig, Darren White, John Comiskey, Vicky Ferreira, Jim C., and now Michael Bogner. Thank you very much for supporting monthly for the show. I really appreciate it. Vicki, what you drinking tonight? I remember saying you had a happy hour.
Yeah, drinking some Juicy Bits is called. It's an IPA. Let's see, Weld Works Brewing Company based out of Colorado. So it's pretty good if you like hazy IPA. It's my new favorite.
Excellent. I'm going to put that in the show notes. Christ, I don't know how to spell. That's good enough. It corrects itself. So excellent. I'm just having a rum and, well, it's a vodka and Coke from Union Grove Distillery from Arkville. So
nice.
Shout out to them. Put that in there too, or I'll forget it. I totally forgot that you are in a different time zone.
Yeah, it works out though.
What time is it there?
5 p.m.
Okay. Okay. I totally forgot that when I set this up.
Oh yeah. I was like, oh, that works. It's the end of my perfect happy hour time. So
Good. That's why it caught on. And she said it's happy hour. And I'm just like, no, it's 7:00. It's past happy hour. I'm like, I totally
happy hour here.
Yeah, I didn't know you were over in Colorado. So cool. So I mean, I always ask people this, and usually because they don't hike, I don't get really any good answers. So, but you've been on a previous hike or something like that in the past couple weeks?
Yeah. Let me try and think. So yeah, currently living in Boulder, Colorado. Just moved here a few months ago, exploring the local neighborhood. It's really cool. Yeah, I'm in what's called the Front Range, so I'm really close to where the Rocky Mountains start. And yeah, there's a hike nearby called Bear Peak, and yeah, I think it's like 3,000, 2,500, 2,600 feet of gain. So yeah, I did that this past weekend.
Wow, excellent. How many miles?
It's not too long, like 6 miles, but beautiful views.
Oh yeah, and Alpine Zone is everywhere up there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Have you been to I've only heard of this. Is it called Garden of the Gods up there?
Yeah. You'd probably find it a bit tame for hiking, but it's really lovely. It's like really cool rock formations. Yeah, very accessible. A lot of it's like paved, so very accessible for everyone to go to. So it's a really good go-to place for bringing visitors if you want to visit.
Oh, trust me. I think I have like, I don't know, 3 or 4 friends. I just made some new friends from out in Colorado at Shadows Fall show, a metal show over in Massachusetts. They traveled all the way out from there from Colorado just to see that band's reunion. And I was just like, it's really, we stay in touch now. So definitely
Nice.
I mean, Colorado is definitely on the list of visiting. You can't, I mean, I've been to the Canadian Rockies, so I got to go to the Rockies in America. So excellent. That's cool. Yeah. I recently have gone on only local hikes. It's just been, life has been busy as heck. So I've been on local hikes, but I've never known that Otsego County has hikes. So
I mean, there's always something there. You just have to find it. I was living in DC before, and people are like, "Oh, is there hiking around DC?" And there is. You just have to, find it.
Not much elevation gain though.
No, I mean, you went to the Shenandoahs. It's not too far from DC, but yeah,
I love that place.
it's beautiful.
Can I have to talk about those? I'll have to bring my wife on and.
Yeah, I know you and Jessica went, right?
Yeah. That's when we fell in love with thru hikers. Well, that's when she fell in love with thru hikers. I mean, I knew all about thru hiking and stuff, but once she was just like somebody was just like, oh, talking to her, and all of a sudden she's just like, well, we got some candy bars and their stuff, really? And then she's just
yeah,
we got to go to the store and get stuff.
You give them food or something to drink, a beer, a Gatorade, they'll love you forever. So it's pretty easy.
Exactly. So I mean, we'll probably get into that a little bit later. But I couldn't even imagine the difference between the Appalachian Trail and the PCT, because there's nobody up in the PCT like towns or anything.
There are some, but yeah, it's not as accessible as the AT.
Nice. Crazy. So excellent. So any Catskill news? I know that everything's thawing here. Today was 72 degrees here, so it was good. 72 freaking degrees. I loved it. So everything's thawing, but still within the next, I think this is going to be aired. Oh, it's pretty far away from now, actually. The 25th. So you just pack those 2 pounds of micro spikes. Just don't be a wuss. Ultralight. She's probably going to talk about ultralight tonight. Were you an ultralight?
I would say it was in between. I didn't go full ultralight.
Okay, that's good. I remember people doing full ultralight where they carry they're just like, I got it down to 8 pounds. I'm just like, how the hell did you get it down to 8 pounds?
I kept my stove. I couldn't give it up.
I know, right?
Worth it for me.
Those are wicked. I gotta admit, did you have the jet boil stuff kind of like that?
I just had a pocket rocket. So it's the lighter version. It's just the lighter one that and then got I think a Toke's stove or a Toke's pot. So it's like the lighter version, but I kept it because I like having a hot meal in the evening for sure. Absolutely.
Can't go wrong with a hot meal. Spice up your life and your feelings. All right. So Vicki, I'm going to do some Catskill Mountain history. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I got this little excerpt from a book by Heart of the Catskills by Bob Student. I've been digging into his books lately. Really cool stuff. It's about deer and how rare they were back in the 1800s. It's really, really cool. So I'm going to jump right into it. So, in sharp contrast to the sad story of the passenger pigeon, stands the case of the white-tailed deer, hunted in the Catskills to the point of near disappearance by the 1880s. According to one local historian, swine released to forage in the mountains in the summer, for the most part, had replaced deer. As Charles F. Carpenter, who inspected the Catskills in 1886 upon request of the newly established State Forest Commission, was to report, deer are rarely seen and much more rarely killed. It is fair to suppose, Carpenter concludes, that there are not a dozen deer in this whole Catskill region. In an effort to remedy this deplorable situation, 2 years after the creation of the Catskill Forest Preserve, the state legislature in 1887 authorized the State Forest Commission to establish 3 deer parks in the Catskills. To this end, and after extensive study and debate, a sizable acreage on the south side of Slide Mountain was selected as site for these proposed parks. Inspected personally by Forest Commissioner Townsend Cox in mid-August, the chosen site was situated in remote and wild lands, which the state had begun to acquire 10 years earlier at the headwaters of the West Branch of the Nethersink. Cox himself was familiar with the intended location of the park. For the previous year, in June of 1886, he had climbed Slide Mountain with other dignitaries and commemorate officially in the establishment of the Catskill Forest Preserve, arguably the most important legislation affecting the Catskills to be passed by New York State legislature in the 19th century. Staying overnight in each case study nearby Winnisook Lake, Cox gave his approval of the site and his early experiment in wildlife management in the southern Catskills. Constructed about 1 mile south of present-day Slide Trailhead, in the town of Downing near Shandaken and Downing Line, which is west of Slide's Trailhead, and what is known as the Old Satterley Lot. The park would not, however, become operational until 1889, when 45 deer, which had been herded into the lakes of Adirondacks and trapped by men in boats, were shipped to the Catskills by rail and released into a fenced enclosure of some 200 acres. Named after Henry Satterley for his family, who had owned this land, the area in which the park was located had not been settled and only sparsely until that of 1871. And not until 1875, by which a primitive road had been driven up the Big Indian Valley and over to the notch of the West Branch, built by local men who were paid in 50-pound bags of wheat flour, was accessed this area by wagons made practicable. It was here in this wilderness, it must be remembered, that prior to the creation of the park, passenger pigeons in such prodigious numbers had previously nested. Now visited by John Burroughs and the other curious sightseers who drove up the park in buggies to see the deer, the park became a popular destination and a source of amusement for tourists and locals alike in the last decade of the 19th century. So that was weird stuff, that there were no deer in the late 1800s in the Catskills, very rare. And what's cool is we're going to talk, after reading this and speaking about this, I put in a question for you, Vicki, later on. I want to see what kind of animals you saw on the trail.
Oh, yes.
I hopefully they're really cool ones.
Yeah, there are some cool animals that I saw.
Excellent. So hopefully you enjoyed that Catskill Mountain history. Once again, I read like a weirdo. It feels like I'm back in 5th grade or something like that. So once again, Connor and all them would probably be embarrassed. But
not true.
They know me. Oh, I love Connor. I miss that guy.
We all do. He's busy now,
He has a kid. Crazy.
Cutest kid ever. Not at all biased. Cutest kid ever.
Yeah, he posted a picture the other day. Oh my God. Him and James and Connor, oh my God, their babies are just insanely cute.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. So welcome guest of the night, Vicki Ryan, and her experience of hiking along the Pacific Crest Trail. 2,600 miles. And I stalked her crazy on Instagram. Once again, every day would be a new video or new pictures, and I was jealous as heck. I guarantee a lot of people are with the stuff you posted. It was great. So, Vicki, give a little background about yourself if you can. You don't have to go in great detail, but you can, because I know you've been everywhere.
Let's see. Yeah, I grew up in Otego, New York, the small tiny town of Otego, New York, in the countryside, so not even in the town. And yeah, did a bunch of wandering in the woods behind my house. I felt like I didn't really know what organized hiking was for quite a while, but I feel like just being exposed to it as a kid helped me appreciate it and love doing it. Yeah, and then moved out of there for college, eventually moved to DC, and was living there for about 10 years. And now just recently moved to Boulder, Colorado. And in between there, yeah, spent some time abroad, lived in France for a couple of years and in West Africa for a year and a half, and spent some time, for work traveling in other parts of Africa. And I always tried to get out and explore whatever local hikes there are, which is very different depending on where you are, from the desert to the the rainforest. And so that's a bit about me. I've always kind of dreamed about doing a long trail, and I'll explain more about what pushed me to do it. But a bit about me.
Otsego,
Mm-hmm.
population of, God, I don't know. Is it over 1,000?
It's less. It's like 4,000, I think.
Okay.
As of 5 years ago, so it's probably less than that.
Yeah. I was gonna say. So we were in a small town. We were a very tight group.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. We had I think I had a graduating class of like 82 people. So
yeah, mine was like 75. Yeah.
So I hope some of the people here are probably from the city, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's crazy." We were a tight-knit group.
Well, tight-knit community. Good place. It was a great place to grow up.
I gotta agree. Going, like, we all swam at the same time. We all played sports together. It was very rarely we didn't like some other person in our area. Mm-hmm. So what? My big question: ever since you did this, seriously, what made you just like drop everything and go hike a 2,600 pound trail?
Yeah, it's something that I wanted to do for a while. Like I said, I've always been into the outdoors and just love hiking, and always been an active person, a runner, and soccer and things like that. And I don't know. I think I was working in a corporate job after grad school, and was like, had worked so hard like through grad school and to get this job. And I was like, what am I doing? Once you are actually doing it. Just started kind of daydreaming about what could I do, and read more about the PCT. I grew up on the East Coast, and I lived in New York, and spent time in New Hampshire in the Whites, and lived in DC, so spent quite a bit of time in the 18, like the Shenandoahs. The PCT kind of I was drawn to the PCT because it would be more of an adventure, on the other side of the country. And I thought about doing it in 2020, but then COVID. So I got a permit, and I was, like, all right, maybe I'll do this. But honestly, it was okay to have that extra year. I just, prepared more and read more and, saved more money. And then, I think I was just not fully happy in my job. And that made it, at first I was going to take a sabbatical, an unpaid sabbatical. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to quit, and, do this dream and not feel like I'm tied to having to come back to this life that I wasn't fulfilled in. So, yeah.
Wicked. That's like everybody who does like a long trail. That's like 90% of their answers. I just wasn't happy at my corporate job, and I quit.
Yeah. And I just said, screw it, I'm out.
I wish I want to do that so bad, but
you should.
Life is difficult. So
I know it is.
But excellent. Wow. That's like I said, what I hear. Did you have like friends that were influenced you, or is it?
Not really, honestly.
Crazy.
I didn't really know anyone who had done the PCT or really the AT, except maybe Emily Underwood, who's also from Unitigo, who's a super badass lady, and she's done all three trails. So she's done the AT, the PCT, and the CDT. So she's a triple crowner. And
No
I got back in
shit.
touch with her because she moved to West Virginia. So I was living in DC and she was in West Virginia. And we started like, doing some like cross country skiing and hikes and just picked her brain more about it. And she was like, you should totally do it. It's amazing. It's life changing. So it was really helpful to talk to someone else, like another woman who had done it and, who was so passionate about it and really prioritized the outdoors in her life. And yeah, so I guess talking to her was really helpful for me. And another
Yeah,
Hannah Teagan.
I know it's so crazy. I didn't know she did that. My God, it sucks that some of these people I know like social media is like a curse, but it's also a blessing to see what other people are doing. And I gotta find some of my friends that like I never knew. She was in your grade, right?
Yeah, she was in my grade.
Okay, was she sister of Kurt?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen these people in years. It's
I know.
so crazy. That's so crazy. And then also who did you meet on the trail again? Up towards
yeah, April Thorpe.
Crazy.
Who I didn't actually know. I didn't know from Unitigo, but she knew Connor. And so we were kind of chatting. It's like, oh, I'm from New York State. Oh, me too. I'm from New York State. I'm from upstate New York. Okay, cool. Me too. I'm like, oh, I'm from Oniana. She's like, well, I'm from Otigo. I'm like, oh, I'm also from Otigo. And it was so it was, really crazy. Small world.
That's so crazy. Freaking A. So do you have like any stats like off the top of your head or actually real stats?
Yeah, like stats, like just like about the trail or like
yeah, like elevation gain, distance, time, basically,
Yeah, sure. It took, as you mentioned, 2,650 miles from Mexico to Canada, passes through 3 states, California, Oregon, then Washington. It took me a little over 5 months to complete. So I guess 5 months and a week for being specific. Has 490,000 feet of gain. I don't know how that compares to the AT. I think the AT is probably more. We can talk more about that. I think the AT sounds very difficult, but and my longest day was 72 miles.
Whoa, in one day?
In one day.
No shit, you were booking.
Did a there's something called the 24-hour challenge that people can opt to do. So I did that in Oregon and ended up doing 72 miles before I was like, all right, I need to go to bed.
How much time did that cut off doing up to 72 miles in one day?
But then you have to like rest for 2 days, because you're so exhausted. You just kind of like wait for your friends to catch up and you're just like chilling in town and they're like fine because they've only been doing like 20-25-mile days. So they're like, oh, hey.
Hey, and then they're like, let's get going.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, must be. My feet hurt.
That is so crazy. So God, 2,650 miles, 4,000 or 400,000, over 400,000 feet of gain.
490,000 feet of gain.
Jesus. Wow.
That's a lot.
What do you remember what the lowest point was? Did you start at sea level down in New Mexico?
It's the high desert, so it's not sea level, but the lowest point I think is in what's it called? This town in Oregon. And it gets to something like 100 or something.
Wow.
So it does go, it goes pretty low.
And what's the highest point?
I think it's like 1,300 or 13,000 something. Yeah, that's actually on the trail. And then you can a lot of people opt to go off and do like a side trip up Mount Whitney, which is the highest point in the continental US at like 14,080 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was like 14,087 or something like that. I've looked into that. So many rescues on that.
Oh, really? Yeah, I can see that.
Dumb people. But, wow, excellent. That is so cool. That's a lot of gain. Holy shit. Now when you did that, you did part of the John Muir Trail, right?
Yeah, part of it, I forget. I think it's a few hundred miles, right? 250, nice. I don't know, something like that overlaps with the JMT. One of the most beautiful sections on the trail for sure. That's why so many people do it.
Sierra Nevadas, right?
Yeah, the Sierra Nevada.
I've looked into the John Muir Trail, and I was going to do that one time. And I told my wife, I'm just like, it's 200 miles. It's not bad. I'm like,
Mhm.
I could finish it because I'm not a speed hiker, but I like to hike fast. I could probably hike very fast if it's fast flat ground,
Mhm.
and even going up and stuff like that. But just for some reason, thinking about it and trying to plan overnights and eating and stuff like that has got to be insane.
Yeah, it's very overwhelming in the beginning. Once you get it down, you kind of know what you eat and you figure it out. But in the beginning, I was definitely overwhelmed.
Duh, yeah. Scared shitless, probably, right? You're just
Yeah. So
crazy.
you get dropped off at the Mexican border and you're like, all right, bye, have fun.
Seeing in 2,600 miles.
Yeah.
So was there any times you didn't think that you wouldn't be able to make it, that you were going to exit out?
Honestly, no.
Awesome.
I just
Awesome.
I really loved it. Like there are definitely challenging times or hard days. There were, weather or mentally or whatever, but I never, yeah, I never got to that point. Everyone always says never quit on a bad day. So it's like if you have a bad day, generally a good thing is going to follow and you're going to change your mind. So, but yeah, it was such a dream of mine that I don't think I could have forgave myself if I ever quit. So, but yeah, but I didn't really have those negative thoughts.
How was the weather?
Yeah, it was all over the place.
Oh man.
Yeah, coming from like the East Coast, we start in the desert, it's like hot and dry, and I'm pale, I'm not really made for the desert. So that took some getting used to. Yeah, and then there are cold nights where it's like freezing, below freezing at night. There were there's some snow, got some snow in Washington, some rain also in Washington. But the joke was it doesn't rain on trail, which is terrible.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Like I was like, California is gonna die. Like it needs to rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but generally I did not hit at the point that I had started on the trail, which is April 15th. There were really bad fires in California last year, but I was far enough ahead that I got some of the smoke from the fires, but I didn't have to skip it. Some people had to skip, like someone told me they had to skip 600 miles because of
Oh
fires.
wow.
At one point they closed all of California, like all of the state trails in California. They ended up opening them back up, but that's how bad it was. But I think I lucked out. It was a really low snow year in the Sierra Nevadas, which is also, good for a thru hiker because it's easier, but terrible for the environment. Like the
Yeah.
water that Californians depend on comes from the mountains, and there just wasn't a big snowpack this year. But
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Yeah, I was gonna say you go through almost every sort of climate up there. You go through, the desert, and then you get up into the mountains of the Sierra Nevadas, and then you go back down into Oregon, which is almost like rainforest, sort of like that. And then you travel back up into Seattle, where you keep climbing higher and higher, and you got all those volcanic rock or volcanic mountains up there. So that's pretty
Yeah,
wicked.
really cool.
So the water, one big question I have, I know the East Coast is full of water, but it's still scarce over there. But how was it tricky over in the Sierra? And like, I would think Sierra Nevadas would be tricky, but
Oh, the water in the Sierras was amazing. Like there are just streams everywhere. So that wasn't an issue. You can even just like, a lot of people will walk with just a water bottle and just like fill it up and put a filter on it. Or some people wouldn't even filter because you're at such high elevation. There aren't really a lot of like stock animals or anything up there. But the difficult water section was the desert, which is like the first 600 miles. And yeah, I think the longest portion or section stretch without water was like 36 miles, which is a lot. So my rule of thumb, just for my mental calculation, was like 1 liter of water for every 5 miles, just to make sure, like, and then you add more if it's hot or if you have to cook or if you're camping overnight. and you have, yeah, something like that. Yeah. So 36 miles, is, what is that? 2, 4, 6, like 7 or 8 liters. Each liter is 2.2 pounds. So
Oh,
like
wow.
you're also carrying like all this extra weight on your back. So I think that was the most difficult part of the desert, was just the extra weight you're carrying, the mental, game you're playing of like, is there going to be water at this next location? Do I carry more to make sure I have water? But then it's so exhausting to carry that. Yeah. So for me, for coming from like the Northeast, that took some getting used to for sure.
Yeah. Did you in the desert, of course, did you have to hike any off trail to go find some water sources, or did you ever hit a spot where you were like, oh shit, there's no water source here, we got to find something?
Yeah, there were definitely some times where you had to get off trail, but you could plan ahead. Like I would plan ahead and say, okay, I have to hike, a mile. You always just try to minimize. We joke that it's like through hikers or babies, because we don't want to hike any miles that are not on trail. It's like off trail miles are just the worst. So you don't want to
Hell
do
yeah.
anything that's not contributing to your path forward from, to Canada. So sometimes, yeah, in that case, if it's like a mile or 2 miles off trail, I would opt to carry more water to avoid having to walk those extra, that's like 2 miles just to get water. But there was a really good app that people which I highly recommend for anyone who does the trail, that people would comment on. So it shows like where you are, like GPS location, and then the next like water source, the next campsite. And then people could comment on it to say, this water is terrible. Skip this water source, like go to the next water source. It's called Far Out.
Oh yeah, I got that. Excellent.
Yeah, so they don't just do long trails. They do, like the AT, PCT, CDT. They do a ton of other
Yeah, I
like
got that.
shorter trails as well, which is awesome.
Sweet.
And that was really helpful for planning.
I'll put that in the notes. Excellent. Far Out.
I know.
So like once again, I did some research with the John Muir Trail. I was going to do that like 3 or 4 years ago. So the resupply situation on theirs is pretty tricky, because I heard of several times you got to go pretty far off trail, like 6, 7 miles.
Yeah.
Is that a pain in the ass kind of thing? Like, shit, we got to go get our resupply.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Cause you're like, oh, I have to hike these extra miles. But at the same time, so the longest stretch I went between towns was 8 days. And that was in the Sierras. The Sierras were the most remote, for sure, the most remote section. And that's just, you plan to bring extra food, and you just have to make sure that you meet your daily mileage and do more opposed to less. So you don't end up with like, not enough food. So there was, the longest stretch was 8 days. And then we had to hike, I think it was 7 or 8 miles off trail one way.
Oh man.
And then you get to like this little remote, campground that's at whatever, like 11,000 feet or something like that. And you have to hitchhike down. So, like this, think of the weather, it's like 75 degrees. It's beautiful, you have to hitchhike down. And we get to, and you just start like descending. We were actually in the back of a truck. So I could feel like the weather change, like how crazy the temperature was changing. We got to the bottom of, to wherever, like the, bottom of the mountains, and the temperature was 104 degrees.
Oh, wow.
So
air conditioning to freaking sauna.
Right. And then we had to hitchhike another, I don't remember, like 20 miles or something, to Bishop, California, which was like the nicer town. So yeah, that was probably the most exhaustive resupply. Yeah. So there were definitely sections that you had to go pretty far off trail, but then there were other times like the desert, the towns were pretty accessible. But I would say the Sierras and then Washington had the longest food carries.
Yeah, but the beauty of the Sierra Nevadas really
Oh my
takes.
gosh, so amazing. I loved it actually. You didn't have service the whole time. I was like, this is amazing. Some
Yeah.
people, yeah, felt like, a little scared, like they're not, you don't have access to amenities and towns. And I was just like, what? This is so great.
Yeah, you're up pretty high in the Sierra Nevadas too the
Mhm.
whole time.
Yeah, I think, right. I remember getting to like this lake that was like 10,000 feet or something. And then we kind of stayed at that, you go above, below, but you try and kind of like camp at the lower, whatever the lower after a pass, lower
Mhm.
elevation because it's warmer and generally better water sources. And yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. I definitely there's a place Jessica and I are gonna go check out in the Sierra Nevadas called is it Bear Paw High Sierra Camp?
Ooh, I don't know it.
It's it's uh it's like I think it's like 2,500 feet and it's a 13 miles to get to. You
Mhm.
go from the Sequoias, right from the almost the general, and you go up and it's a little on the expensive size, but it's like an all-inclusive hike up there. They cook stuff for you.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Jessica, I'm trying to convince her to do that. I'm just like,
Yeah,
it starts in the giant sequoias, and then you get up and
beautiful.
you're up in the middle of nowhere. So I've
Mhm.
seen pictures of the Sierra Nevadas, and I'm just blown away by its beauty.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I honestly, I think it's the most beautiful place I've ever been. So highly recommend anyone to visit.
Excellent. Wow. Yeah, you definitely got to go to Canada, the Canadian Rockies.
I saw your pictures of Banff. I really want to go.
It's so good. It's so good. I wish they had a long trail up there. I'd be there in a second.
Mhm.
They probably do. They have the
Yeah, I
hut to
think they
hut
do.
trail.
Mhm.
Did you have any like unexpected mishaps, like any something that kind of was just like, oh shit, this is not fun.
Yeah. I didn't have like bad injuries or anything. I had a couple things, but that kind of worked themselves out pretty quickly. However, I was in Northern California. We were at Bernie Falls State Park, which is it's a beautiful state park. It's a nice waterfall. And we were camping at the campground. And I'm used to like cooking on the ground, like sitting in the dirt and like have my stove out. And I'm cooking on the ground. And I was at a camp, like at a picnic table, and I spilled boiling hot water all on my thigh.
Oh no.
It was like really bad. I got a second-degree burn. So
Holy
it was
shit.
like boils and it's real gross. Like, yeah, the skin kind of was like coming off.
Oh,
And yeah, and it was like, I could still walk. It wasn't like I had a hurt foot or something, but it was really inconvenient. It took like over a month to heal because, my shorts are rubbing on it. And yeah, so that was that was
wow.
kind of what I say my worst injury that thankfully wasn't a real injury. And then I would say another mishap was that we saw fire start when we were in
Oh wow.
like almost to the Oregon border. We were right before the Oregon border and there was a little lightning storm, like, you could see across the way and literally just saw like a lightning bolt start a fire. I
Wow.
called it in, or my friend called it in. Yeah, it was crazy.
Holy shit. That must have been scary.
Yeah, yeah. We were like, oh, we should probably hike faster.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
That must have
we saw like, yeah, the kind of the helicopter come and with the water and the fire retardant and try and put it out. So
oh
it's a
shit.
very different experience.
Wow. That is insane. Crazy. So how did you with the skin burn from the hot water, how did you like remedy? Did you have like lotion to put on it every day?
Yeah, honestly, like at first I was doing band-aids on it and it made it worse because it needs to like air out so that it can actually dry and like heal. So I ended up honestly just like tucking in my shorts so that it could air out. And I even went to the pharmacy. He was like, I have the second-degree burns. What should I do? He's like, I guess you could put some ointment on it. Like they were just
Yeah.
kind of like, there's nothing you can really do except to just kind of let it heal. So I don't know, just dealt with it for A month
Interesting.
until it went away. Still have a
Interesting.
scar there. It's still there. It's not going away.
It's a memory.
Mm-hmm.
Get a tattoo
It's
below it.
true.
That's crazy. Now, I know this. I should have probably asked this before. How long did you hike solo, and how long did you hike with people?
Yeah. Good question. So, I started the trail solo, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, you didn't start with anyone." It's like, no, but it's so easy to meet people. Like everyone, there's some people that start with like their partner or friend, but a lot of people start solo. And I knew I was going to have to spend the night like camp alone at some point, but I ended up having to camp alone my first night.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, no, like, it was fine. But I heard like newts, kind of like lizards running around and in the middle of the night. It's like, this is not how I wanted to start this, but it was fine, got the jitters out of my system. And yeah, I met people, pretty quickly, like within the first few days, and hiked with 2 people that I met with, on day 5. So, but there were times, I would say probably, I don't know, like I only camped alone maybe 10 times out of, 10 nights out of the entire trip. And that was because like I either got behind, there was a time when my husband came to visit me in Mammoth, California, which is great. But then my friends, my trail family, we call it our trail family, they're not going to wait for me, continue walking, which meant I was behind everyone. And yeah, I was alone in the Sierras for like 5 days because
Oh, wow.
you don't really see any, it's like, I would say the desert, you see people every day, a lot of people like every day are kind of, and then people drop out in early on in the trail. So it kind of whittles down over time. Yeah. So I would say the majority of the time I camped with someone, but I would maybe hike alone like 50% of the time, like during the day.
Wow.
Which was great.
Do you think that's also because of your pace and their pace? Like, of course, everybody tries to keep with each other, but then you also have probably super fast people like you. And
yeah, everyone hikes their own pace. It's like the saying is hike your own hike, which, I'm sure you've heard. It's like, do your own thing. Don't base what you're doing on other people, because then you need to get the full experience and what you want out of the trail. So if you're trying to keep up with someone, or, someone's going slower than you want to go, then you're going to be unhappy and you're not going to get, whatever it is you want out of the trail. So yeah, definitely. There were, times when maybe, a friend of mine hiked really fast, but then he only wanted to do 20 miles that day. And so it's like, all right, I'll just go a little farther. The distances are different than the AT. So it's like easier to hike bigger miles on the PCT than on the AT, because the terrain is easier, to be frank. Like I was pretty, I was in shape when I started, but I was still like, okay, I don't want to get hurt. I want to make sure I'm fine. I don't want to overdo it. And Emily Underwood was like, you'll be fine. Like you hike on the AT all the time. Like you hike on the East Coast all the time. The trail on the PCT is designed for people, but also like pack animals, so like horses. So I think it can be over like a 10% grade. I don't know what the max grade is on the AT, but I'm pretty sure it's more than that. And it's not rocky like the AT. You can like look around when you're walking. So anyway, I guess I just wanted to call that out. If it sounds like a lot, like I was doing like a probably average of 25-mile days, and that's not crazy.
It's crazy though.
It sounds like it, but
yeah, I've heard that as well, that the AT is very, very challenging, just because the terrain goes back and forth of crap, and then the roots of the trees and the rocks, and then like you said, the grade, once you get like, a lot of people don't expect of how crazy the White Mountains are.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. No switchbacks, just walk up it.
Yep. And you've been there, and I've hiked in the Catskills over in the East Coast. They don't believe in switchbacks. to get straight up to the top of the mountain.
And then people on the West Coast are complaining about their switchbacks. I'm like, switchbacks are heavenly. You
Yes.
don't like try and go to the White Mountains and like you go straight up from like, sea level to 5,000 feet of elevation without a switchback.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I've heard so much of that. That's pretty funny because I've had a couple of my friends have done the AT and they've just said, I had my friend Mo on here that did the AT and he said is the crappiest section is Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Rocksylvania, they call it that, right?
Yeah. And then like, I'm just like the lowest elevation of any of the things has the crappiest terrain.
Yeah.
Weird stat.
Mm-hmm.
But excellent. So did you, besides the lightning strike and getting second degree burns, was there anything that was unexpected on the trail or was it you probably researched it so much that it was just like, all right, that's good?
Yeah, anything that was unexpected, I guess more of the overall experience on the trail. Like I was thinking more about the athletic portion of it. I don't want to get hurt. I want to make sure I don't overdo it in the beginning. And, but I want to make sure I'm like pushing miles and things like that. But then I guess what I didn't expect was the focus on like friendships, like the friends that I made on trail that you have such a like-minded view of the world just because you have this big thing in common. So it's like people who are so different and I would probably not be friends with, in just because our paths wouldn't have crossed in, my real life. And it's like, just brings people together in a different way. And then also like the kindness of people on trail, they say the saying is the trail provides. And it's like, what does that even mean? The trail provides. But there were multiple times where I was like, down in the dumps, like I was like exhausted, like, just not having a good day. Maybe I was alone. Like I can think of one time in particular, I was in Oregon. My friend and I had just done like a 30-mile day the day before and we went up and summited South Sister, which is like an offshoot, just like for fun. We added 12 miles for fun and a bunch of elevation gain. And I had to like we were going to Bend. I had to make it into Bend to like get my box, like my resupply box that I'd sent because the post office was going to be closed. And I was exhausted. I was just like having an emotionally difficult day. And a ranger stopped to check my permit and I'd accidentally sent my permit in like my resupply box to Bend and my phone was dead. So I like couldn't pull it up on my phone. And he was like, scolding me. I was just having such a tough day. It was also like the volcanic rock. So it was really tough to walk on. And I just get to the road and then Bend is like an hour. It's like an hour hitch to Bend. I was like, great, I'm never going to get like a ride, like a hitch to Bend. And then there's my friend, I've had this terrible day. There's my friend who I hadn't seen in like weeks. And he's there with his mom and they have like this beautiful trail magic. So like food and snacks. And they're like, oh yeah, we can totally give you a ride to Bend. And I was like, I almost cried like with happiness of, I don't know. So like things like that you just don't expect people's kindness and to be there when you most need it.
Being humble.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like to just, I don't know, take the punches because you're not, everyone's kind of struggling in their own way, just at different times. So how can you help others when they need it?
Yeah. Awesome. That's really different. I gotta admit. So this is the question that I thought today. What animals did you like see in an encounter? I'm so excited about this. I'm curious.
So different animals on the West Coast than on the East Coast, obviously. Saw a lot of marmots in the Sierras and in Washington. So I would say the Sierras in Washington had the most like visible animals. Saw deer, obviously. The marmots were like not afraid, especially in the Sierras. They were like, "Are you gonna give me food?" I'm like, "No, it's not. You don't do that." The pika, I love pika. If you don't know what they are,
They're like a small groundhog, right? Like really shrinking, like a
yeah,
squirrel or a chipmunk slash groundhog.
they're in the rabbit family. I call them mouse rabbits.
Oh,
but
excellent.
they're in the rabbit family, and they're just so cute. And they make these like little meep noises. And when we were hiking, they like collect. They live at only high elevations. They're like one of the only animals that stay and live at high elevations. They don't go back. They don't, go down for the winter. So you see them collecting all of their food, which is like grass and stuff, and then you see them running across the rocks to like hide them in their little hideaways. So they are my favorite animal. Saw a bear. I only saw a bear once, which I was surprised, but I saw very close as a black bear, so didn't want to see a grizzly.
Yeah, of course.
And saw mountain goats, which was really cool. There was like a mom and her baby, and we were hiking behind them for like 30 minutes. We're like, Mom, please move out of our way. We don't want to scare you, but we would like to pass. And I didn't see a mountain lion, but my friends of mine did, who I was hiking very nearby. So they were definitely out there. They just not to be seen.
Crazy mountain lions, man. I love it how people, that's one of the big topics that I want to get into is later on and with somebody is about mountain lions on the East Coast, because it's funny that people think they exist, but they really don't. If you saw one mountain lion on 2,600 miles, maybe you didn't see any of the other person.
My friends did, and I was very close to them. However, they don't want to be seen. They're not gonna they're generally not gonna do anything to you, and if you avoid night hiking, like that's generally when they come out, then you're gonna be fine.
Yeah, there's stealth.
Yeah.
Wow, sweet. No, like up towards the north, do they have moose up there that you were hoping to encounter or no?
I don't know.
I know towards like Glacier National Park and stuff like that, which you're not.
Colorado, they definitely have moose and elk. But I don't know. I definitely didn't see any.
Oh, poor. That sucks.
I've always wanted to see a moose in New Hampshire, but I haven't.
Same here.
Not too close. They can stay pretty far away, but
Yeah. We when we went up to the Canadian Rockies, we came probably within 20 feet of grizzly bear.
Whoa, that's scary.
That was crazy. That was very scary because Jessica was in front of me. And she's looking at the ground because the Canadian Rockies are full of roots and everything. It's really crazy. And I saw it and I like grabbed her bag and I was just like, stop. I'm just like, we got to turn around. I'm like, you're supposed to make some noise, but like I turned around, I like kind of pivoted my feet so it would make something. He was on a slope and he fell and he just went all the way down the mountain. But she panicked and like sprinted up the mountain. And people were on their way down, and we told them, we're just like, we think there's a grizzly bear down there. Just go down there. The wife of the family went in full on panic mode, panic attack. She just started breathing heavy. She fell down, and we were just like, oh my God, she's like hyperventilating. We gotta like figure something out. And then we're just like, no, he fell down the mountain. We were trying to talk her down, and the guy's just like, she freaking does this all the time. Oh my God. But yeah, we saw actually a grizzly bear twice. That's there. One was off the road and there was like freaking 200 cars taking pictures, idiots taking selfies and stuff. I'm just like, you guys are morons.
Yeah.
I went by, I took a picture with my long lens camera and got a better picture.
Yeah. Than their selfie.
Was the black bear close?
It was pretty close. Yeah. It was like 10 feet away or maybe 15 feet. Like it was very close. I kind of like walked up. It was me and a friend and, was kind of like, got scared but it was just eating, and then it kind of did like an arc around us and it kept eating and then just like went off. But I have a video, probably like a minute of it just kind of chilling. So even though I only saw one, I saw it really close, so I was pretty excited about it.
Was that in like the higher elevations where there was no trees or?
Yeah, well, no, there were trees. It was Washington.
Okay. Crazy. Yeah. Black bears are awesome. They're so cute.
They're so pretty. I feel like I've seen a couple in Shenandoah, but they're always like running away. So it was their butt, This was like the first time that I really saw it close up.
It's crazy. Awesome. I love that. I loved it hearing stories about the animals because
Mhm.
so many different encounters. So
Mhm.
any really difficult times that, you know, like you were very close to being like, this is going to be a night where it's going to be insane.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd say there were two like difficult times that come to mind. One is like more like on the emotional side, that I think I mentioned when my husband came to visit me in Mammoth, and then, you know, had like great time with him and he left. And then my friends were like, my trail family was like, you know, 5 days ahead. And so I was by myself for more or less for like 5 days, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot, but when you're like hiking all day in your head and it feels
Yeah.
like a lot. And then, you know, it was in the Sierra, so the elevation gain was tough. And yeah, I guess I was just feeling lonely, like camping alone at night. And just like tired and yeah, but I think I did have some good reflection on like, why am I doing this, and had some more like emotional kind of connection with, which is important, right? Like that was, I thought I would
Yeah.
have more of that. But you're around people more than you expect to be. And then, you know, eventually I caught up with them and it was fine. So I'd say that was like the emotional side. And then I would say my worst day, what I call the worst day on trail, was in Washington State. And it's like a really nice morning. You know, we're kind of like, it's supposed to be a short day. We're like, oh, we're only doing 15 miles today, like party day. Like, it's, you know, we were having like lunch on this beautiful rock. And then it started to drizzle. And we're like, oh, maybe we should get moving. You know, it's drizzling a little bit. My friend decided to wear jorts. He was like, party day, I'm going to wear my jorts, which don't
What are
ask me,
jorts?
like jean shorts. Like, don't
Okay.
ask me why he's carrying these, but he decided
Nice.
to wear them because we're only hiking 15 miles. But then it ends up like a torrential downpour. Like and it's also cold. It's not like warm, it's freezing, like pouring. I have one item of clothing. It's like my shorts. You know, I have rain gear, but at that point, it's raining so hard. It's like, is there a point in putting this on
Yeah.
versus like keeping it dry and like using it later to warm myself up? And so there's like a stream coming down the trail because it's raining so hard. My friend broke like both of his poles, you know, kind of
Oh.
like trying to go down the trail and just like slipping because there's mud everywhere. And yeah, it was just like really, you know, emotionally like exhausting. Like, okay, I'm freezing. We just need to make it. And there's no, you know, there's limited campsites. So it's like, you have to make it to the next campsite. And we're at like higher elevation. So I had to go down. Yeah. So we end up at this like camp spot, finally like, throw out my tent. And then I go to get in it and there's like a puddle in the bottom of my tent. And I'm like, and my friend just looks at me and he's like, oh, you know, or Washington, or like the rain almost broke Trail Spice, which is my trail name. And yeah, it was just a really tough like day and night. And I ended up like sharing a tent with my friend, you know, just to stay warm. And the next day it was still drizzling, but it was like not as bad. And again, you know, we got to the top of the ridge the next day, and you know, the sun kind of opened up and we were able to hang out. We get there and it's called a yard sale, like everyone like has their stuff out to dry it off. But yeah, it was a really tough day, and just kind of reminded me how like Mother Nature is like tough, right? And you need to be prepared. And yeah, I mean, you know, it had been relatively dry in the trail because that's the PCT. It doesn't rain as much. And so it was just like a reminder to stay vigilant. And, you know, we were still like a few days from town, but got into town and I bought like, you know, I don't know, just like a warm hat and some like waterproof gloves. I was like, all right, you know, Washington means business. Let me just make sure that I'm, you know, safe.
Did you hit any snow, like snowstorms or anything?
We did, but nothing crazy, but yeah, just, you know, some inch or two on the ground, but nothing crazy. But that was when it was like, okay, we need to move faster, like winter is coming kind of thing. And I finished at the beginning of September. And generally, like the rule of thumb is to finish before the end of September, because that's when October is when the snow comes. So yeah, it was kind of like move faster because the snow is coming, like winter is coming.
Crazy. Awesome. So what's your favorite parts of the trail?
Yeah, favorite
The
part.
whole thing.
Yeah, but I mean, there are good parts about every section. I think that's what I love about the PCT is that it's so, you said it, like variable and different. Like the desert, wasn't my favorite section, but at the same time, it was my first experience, and it was beautiful in its own way. You have like never ending views because there aren't trees, very like, I mean, clear. You can see just amazing sunsets and sunrises. And then you get into the Sierras, and it's like arguably the most beautiful place at least in the United States, but
in the world.
And maybe maybe Canada has a beat, but I don't know. I have yet to visit.
It's probably close.
Yeah. But I would say, and then like, Northern California, it started to get green again. Oregon, it's like a little, rainforest. So it has its own beauty. But I would say that my favorite section was definitely just all of Washington State.
Oh, really?
Yes. Awesome. I loved Washington. It's so green, like coming from the East Coast, like Northeast, it's so green and lush. And I really miss that, being in like the desert, and even the Sierras, like it has evergreens, but it's more like rocky and mountainous. And but Washington is like so lush and beautiful. And we were there when it started to change color, which is super early, like end of August, beginning of September. We saw what are called larches, which are type of tree that they turn yellow. They're
almost like on fire. They're like fire orange sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And the bushes, like the blueberry bushes, I didn't know that Washington was so colorful. Like I was like, oh, the East Coast is so much better because, our fall is so beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that Washington, even though a lot of it is evergreens, that like blueberry bushes turn like, yellow and red and orange. And then I saw most of the animals that I saw were in Washington State. I would say just all of Washington.
Nice. Did you does the PCT go through the giant sequoias area?
They don't, unfortunately.
Oh man, that would have been magical
to do like an offshoot. I saw Joshua. We saw a lot of Joshua trees in the
those are so awesome.
Yeah, very different.
7-foot trees that are like pointy and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So cool. Mm-hmm. Wicked. I gotta get well, we're going. The funny thing is, not to break off the thing, but we're going to Utah in 8 days.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, where are you going?
We're going to go right outside of Zion.
Okay, cool.
And we have like a bunch of hikes basically outside of Zion. We're going into Zion for observation point.
Nice. Yeah, I did that hike. It's very pretty.
Is it easy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not bad at all. It's like 7 miles, but it's not bad.
Yeah. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that. And then we have a bunch of trail hikes around there, but I'm can't wait to see the desert terrain again.
Mm-hmm. Zion is also one of the most beautiful places I've ever been.
Nice. Yeah, I have so much planned, but not too much. Like there's a place called Buckskin Gulch. It's very popular right by what's it called? Oh my God. What's the wave? It's right beside the wave.
Oh, nice.
It's
cool.
It's like the longest, deepest canyon in the world. So we're going to check that out. And then there's a place down below it, like 7 or 8 miles below it that people rarely go to. And it's like colors of mountains. Like,
whoa.
But yeah, off topic, but yeah. So I can't wait to get back out to the desert because I haven't been out to Arizona. We went up to Arizona like 2018 and did Sedona, but I just love the desert because, like you said, there's nothing blocking you to see views. There's no trees. It's just open. I have to watch out with my wife that the ginger.
Oh yeah, no, wear a hat, wear lots of sunscreen.
So
I
did you get one of those like long open? Okay.
I got
Where'd
a
you get
sun
it?
hoodie. Well, so I wore a sun hoodie, and then I did for the desert. I had like a brimmed hat.
Where'd you get that?
I think the brand is called that I got was like Sunday something. I don't know.
Gotta write that down. Sunday something because she needs one.
Let's see, Sunday hats. Maybe it's called Sunday afternoons. That's the brand, but they have a ton of different types, like like the
Excellent.
wicker ones, and then it's like more sporty ones. Yeah,
Sweet.
highly
I'll
recommend.
get
And
that.
then the long, do like the sun hoodie. I did like I would put up the hood.
Good. Okay, good.
I-
We got some of that.
Great.
Excellent.
there.
Sorry to go off topic.
Oh no,
Excellent.
nothing going on.
So a lot of times I hear this, and it sucks sometimes, and people can't really recover. Post hike depression.
Yeah.
Do you have any of that?
I would say so. After trail, I feel like I did a little bit of traveling around. I spent like a week in Seattle with my trail family. We got like a little apartment and hung out there. And then oh yeah, I went to Boston and met my nephew.
Oh,
And then went to North Carolina for a wedding. I feel like I tried to stay busy for at least I think a month after. I was kind of hopping around, which really helped me transition back. And then it was great seeing my friends and things like that. But then as I moved back to DC, which is a city, pretty big city, it's very bustling. We lived in a small apartment in the city, and that really got to me. Yeah, just not having good access, like outdoor access, didn't have like, a yard or anything like that. Literally didn't have anything.
yeah.
So that was really tough after spending like, you walk 25 miles a day, you get so many endorphins from doing that. There's like, I don't know, I felt like I didn't really have any stress because you're just walking, you walk, you eat, you sleep, like your life is so simple. And so transitioning back to like the hustle and bustle of the city was tough. But I listened to this podcast recently, and I thought it was interesting because they described it not as post-trail depression, but as like grief. And I thought that resonated more with me because I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I definitely felt like I lost something, like I lost a friend or like I lost a lifestyle.
Mm.
And, it was like, no one wants to hear you talk about it.
Bullshit.
After, it's like, yeah, we get it. You walked for 5 months. That's great. Good for you. Please stop talking about it. So that was tough, but moving out to Colorado, honestly, has been really helpful because I do a lot of trail running and hiking and climbing, and I'm just trying to stay as active and be outdoors as much as possible. But I do know, some of my friends who've been struggling more with kind of integrating back into normal life.
I couldn't imagine like just being out there in the vast openness with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And the views, that's what gets me about hiking is the views. And I just can't, I don't want to leave, but
mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, every day is like beautiful in its own way, and it's different, and
so
gotta get back out there.
yeah, right. Now talking about it, I'm sorry. I brought you back into that little mode. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
So any tips for any future long distance hikers on here?
Yeah, just do it. Like you can plan as much as you want, but I read a bunch of books and listened to podcasts, and but there's always you can always make an excuse, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Just do it. I don't know.
Nice.
That's my main piece of advice.
So my wife wanted to ask, what about some advice for the ladies? Because I know it's gotta be crazy, like I'm sorry to say, but pissing and stuff like that. You guys, did you take one of those sheepies?
No. So I honestly, like, everyone.
You don't have to
so
talk about it, by the way.
What?
You don't have to talk about it, by the way.
I really don't mind. So I'm like, again, like we all get so comfortable with each other and you're just like doing it all day, every day. I really, it's just part of life.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't use one. I know someone who did, but I didn't feel uncomfortable just kind of, squatting and peeing.
Okay.
Yeah. There's this thing that I highly recommend for women hikers called the Kula cloth. And it's like
Hula cloth.
Those female hikers. So instead of using like toilet paper, it's just like a cloth. It's antimicrobial. You can wash it. So like I use it throughout the entire hike. And it's just for wiping, and it's antimicrobial, cool, small women owned business. Recommend. Nice. Yeah. And just to find other women to hike with. There are I think, the stats are, I feel like I just heard this the other day that, I think the stats are now that 40% of, I don't know if it's PCT hikers or just general long distance hikers are women. So it's like growing a ton from what it was before, which is great.
Nice. That's pretty cool statistics. Mm-hmm. So when Jessica and I were down in the Shenandoahs, she, once again, we did the whole trail magic stuff and she fell in love. And when we were at one of the viewpoints, there's viewpoints everywhere, especially on the road, we hit like 7 women, and, Jessica like walks over, we give them some soda and, some oranges and some like M&Ms and stuff. And they were like praising us, but they all had to get back on the trail. We're like, we gotta get back on the trail. One of them stayed behind. I forgot what her trail name was, but she was, I think it was like something to have to do with McDonald's. She was like Mickey D or something like that, because she loved it. But she, like, Jessica's like asking like 700 questions, like, how do you pee? What do you pee with? Where do you put your this? What do you do with that? And the girl was just so cool and so chill, and telling her just like, I use a sheepy and this and that and the other thing. And I was like, wow. I'm just like, it's so funny. I'm like, would my wife ever do this? No, not at all. Jessica would never do it.
You never know. Like once you're out there, it just like becomes second nature, and just you stop being embarrassed about it because it's just like normal, normal human bodily functions. We all gotta go.
Exactly. And once again, you're hiking long distance with a bunch of friends, and you did that shit in high school with friends.
Right, exactly.
So crazy. So like last question of the night, you got any long distance hikes in the future?
I wish. No long distance hikes planned for right now. I'm planning to, I have some friends from the PCT who are doing the CDT this year. One doing the Colorado Trail. So I might try and do like a week with them somewhere, probably in July at some point. Yeah, but I'd love to do like an international trail one day. It doesn't have to be, like what I want to say too is that for people who want to get out and do like backpacking, you don't have to give up 6 months, 5-6 months of your life to do it. You can do a week trail. You can do a 2 week, you can even do a month or two. You can do a section. Like there are a bunch of people on the PCT that do sections, you don't have to do the whole thing. So it doesn't have to be this inaccessible activity. Yeah.
You're not gonna, you can do the John Muir Trail in like 10 days. Come on.
Right. Yeah, exactly. People, just do it. Just get the permits are kind of hard to get, but
yeah. Now they're getting even harder. Everything's getting harder because so many people are getting interested in it.
Right. Yeah. Social media. Sorry.
Yeah. We didn't even try for Angel's Landing or any other, the Wave. Oh my God. Like, so we're just like, I'm just like, we're going to go to stuff that I see on a map, because I'm a crazy map junkie. Like I have so many stars on Zion National Park that are off of the BLM stuff like that, the Bureau of Land Management, and it's just a parking spot and it's just a gulch or something like that. And I'm just like, we're gonna go there. Just like screw Angel's Landing. I don't want to stand up there with 50
seriously
people.
Honestly, it's better because you're getting a better experience. When I walked through like Yosemite, we were, coming from the Sierras where it's so remote. Like I'm by myself and I come to, I forget the little, like, there's like a little welcome center there and you can, again, hitchhike down to Yosemite. I spent a day in Yosemite and I was like, this is insane. Like the people, there's so many people. And I was like, man, people should just go and do like short backpacking trips, like not in the valley. Like there are other beautiful places to see. So I think that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, so definitely cool. So hopefully you can get another long distance hike. I want to see you do the John Muir Trail for me.
I would love to. No.
Because I got to at least find somebody else. If you plan on doing it, let me know. All
right. There's also the Sierra High Route. Look into that too.
Yes, I think I have. Like I said, I'll show you that. I'll send you a link for that Bear Paw Sierra.
Oh yeah.
It's like 10,000 feet, and you start in the Sequoias, so
it's amazing.
Nothing better. Mm-hmm. But excellent. Well, Vicki, thank you for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. I had so much fun.
Thank you for having me. Always happy to talk about hiking. So it's been a pleasure.
Couldn't even imagine. So hopefully we'll see you sometime here on the East Coast.
Yeah, definitely.
I haven't seen Connor in a long time. I haven't seen you probably since the wedding.
Since the wedding, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll meet in Boston or in Colorado. Even better.
Yeah, even better. I definitely would do that. So I'd like to thank the monthly donors. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank everyone who's listening. It's crazy that actually people are listening, especially the Catskills thing. I might have to change the name of Outside the Line from the Catskills or something like that. Subscribe on any platform on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I have a website. Look Vicki up on Instagram. What's your name?
My Instagram name?
Yeah.
It's Majestical Vicki.
Nice. I love
an inside joke.
Okay. My other name is Metal Man Stan, so you could have probably predicted that.
Yeah,
knowing me from high school. Shoot me a review on Spotify or Apple or any other platform you use. I'm probably this part right here. If you see it, I'm probably going to get that pre-recorded, so I don't have to say it every time. But Vicki, thank you for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it, and I had a lot of fun listening to your awesome stories.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, have a good night, and I'll talk to you later.
Good, you too. Bye.
Bye.